A phrase I see get thrown around all too often is boost to win. This idea given out mainly by fans of classic Sonic and the adventure games, that the boost games, any game with the boost, you just hold the boost button and you win. Or, you know, you're not really having much input, you're just kind of going forwards. You're not having to jump, you're not having to dodge enemies, you're not having to attack things, you're not thinking about the levels, and you're just going forwards. Well, I wanted to put that to the test. So, I will compare the amount of time it takes for me to boost to win until I can no longer boost to win in all of the games with boost and all of the games that I can record, but which don't have boost. What I will then do is I will compare the two results, work out an average mean amount of time to see if boost to win is a real thing. Is the boost games, do I just boost to win longer than in the non-boost games? We need to set some rules before we begin, so we will follow the same piece of criteria for every single game. You can only hold forwards or forwards in that game. For example, if it's 3D, you're holding forwards. If it's 2D, you're holding right. You can only hold one direction, and you can only use the boost and the spin dash. You can't jump, you can't dodge, you can't quick step, you can't drift, whatever, alright? So we're just going forwards on this purely boosting to win. Also, I'm counting the spin dash in the other games as using the boost, so I'm allowed to use the spin dash in them, but I'm not rolling down hills to gain momentum or anything like that. Anyway, let's find out if boost to win is a real thing. Right, we're starting out with the boost games. We have Sonic Unleashed here, and this was the first boost game in 3D and the one which started the conversation of boost to win. Here we are on Windmill Act 1, the first stage in the game. As you can see, boosting only holding forwards and not anything else. Okay, and just occasionally boosting there, as we can see. This one's just really so you get an idea of the thing, but also we're counting it towards the final as well. Going over here, boosting along as well, hitting the springs, but then here we can no longer progress. We can no longer boost to win, and the time it took for that to happen was 17 seconds and 59 milliseconds. Now, the next game. Sonic Colors, also known as nobody's favorite boost game. Alrighty, let's begin with Tropical Resort Act 1. Here we go, and we are beginning, and we are on the move. Now, this is a side note, but I really like his running animation in this game in Generations, but that's completely besides the point. You can see we're holding forwards and we're boosting, but because we're only holding forwards, he does bounce off the walls slightly, but we know this is still counts as boost to win. Now, here we actually go off that wall, but the spring manages to take us over. However, we meet our end here with this ledge at a time of 19 seconds and 15 milliseconds. Next up, Sonic Generations. Alright, here we go. Starting with this stage because Classic Sonic doesn't have the boost. Also, they don't really use the argument with Classic Sonic, so that was the whole point of this argument. Anyway, also it's just the Green Hill Act 1 anyway. But, you know, we managed to stumble up and just make it there. We hit the wall at just enough speed so he slides along it, and we hit the spring and keep on moving. So we have now been boosting to win for longer than any other game. And now we're going to have to change this to holding a right position rather than a forwards position, but it still counts as forwards because forwards relative to Sonic. There, I didn't actually slide, I just boosted into it, and the game did that itself. But you see, we are still only used the boost and held in the forwards direction, nothing else here. And, I mean, this stage is pretty much automatic. It takes you exactly where you need to go for a lot of this. Now, we can't do any tricks, because that counts as pushing in the other direction. However, I accidentally did one there, but that's fine. Because you get the rings here anyway, which add to your boost. Now, we're still just going forwards, in the forwards direction, not pushing anything apart from the boost button here. As you can see, it's still going. We've gone over a minute now, and we are still going with this game. Up, 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 and no tricks for us. Landing here in Hyperspace 2-1 as we continue our journey forwards. You're not allowed to go up there because that means you'd have to jump. That you managed to stumble, but there is a thing to save you, so we are still making it. Here, another boost leads you to slide under there, just automatically for some reason. And there, that enemy hits that, but we can't progress further, meaning we stop at 1 minute, 34 and 53 milliseconds. Finally, Sonic Forces, the one people say is the most boost to win. Actually, this isn't finally. The one people say is most boost to win. So we'll test if that is true. Now, when I did this, I genuinely had no idea how long I'd be able to go on Sonic Forces for. Maybe I'd be able to do all of the Sonic stages, who knows? But we continued forwards on our merry way. Still holding forwards, here we have the boost, and we are now boosting to win, but we can no longer boost to win, making us come to an end at 19 seconds and 46 milliseconds, a lot less than Generations. Finally, we have Frontiers, starting with Cyberspace 1-1, again following the same rules as everything else. Here we are moving forwards. Unfortunately, we can no longer do that, getting our stop at 8 seconds and 32 milliseconds. But what about the open zone? Well, let's see. Oh, okay, well, there's the time in the open zone up at just a 1 second and 36 milliseconds in total, which does put our average time of the boost games that you can boost to win at 26 seconds and 74 milliseconds. So, if the other games have a time higher than that, boost to win is not a real thing starting with the boost games, and if it is lower, then boost to win is arguably more a thing with the boost games than not. So, let's take a look at these other games and see how they perform. First up, we have Sonic 1. So let's see how he goes. Can we boost to win in Sonic 1? We are holding right and we are going, and we have died at a time of 2 seconds and 54 milliseconds, meaning boost to win probably is a thing for Sonic 1. Anyway, Sonic 2 is coming up now. Now we'll test to see how this is in this game. So, Emerald Hill Zone 1. It's not Act 1, I always thought it was Act 1. It's Zone 1. As you can see, holding right, not jumping or anything else. As I said before, I'm only going to use the spin dash as like a boost when I need to. For example, remember in Generations where I boosted through that enemy that I hit? The same is going to be true here for the spin dash. I'll only use it if I need to. Now, see we hit an object here. However, use the boost and we continue on our merry way. Keep going and through the loops. Now, I said I'm not using the curling into a ball to gain speed or momentum, and here we see boosting, but this counts as well as the boost because the spin dash is literally the same as the boost, and again here, because it speeds you up, it's an instant burst of speed, you know, a push of a button, and it damages enemies and destroys things in its path. It's the boost. We actually managed to complete the whole stage. Now on to Zone 2. Now Zone 2 doesn't last quite as long, but Sonic 2 comes to an end at 49 seconds and 59 milliseconds. Next up is actually nobody's favourite Sonic game, Sonic CD. Now here we are, and here we begin. We are holding right, and we are on our way round that thing where they try to make it look 3D, but it doesn't work, and that random extra bit of water for some reason. Holding right, but there, our time is up. Now, that comes to an end at 12 seconds and 26 milliseconds. Everyone's favourite Sonic game, but not mine, is Sonic 3 now. Yay! Sonic 3, we are going. And we are holding right, and that's it. And we can't go any further. Just 6 seconds and 12 milliseconds. Now, onto the 3D games with Sonic Adventure. So, let's see how this goes. People often really praise the level design in Sonic Adventure for actually having you interact and do things unlike the boost games, myself included. You know, you actually have to think about things and move about the level design, so we are only holding forwards and using the spin dash if we need to as a form of boost. But as you can see, the camera turns are just taking us automatically across this entire section. And we still continue on our way. We're actually dipping into the wall there, slowing down as the camera turned round so we could make it round the corner. Again, only holding forwards and nothing else. As we come up here, the camera once again corrects us onto a forward position over that ramp, and we continue. We do hit that wall slightly, but he manages to make it round anyway. Now here I crashed into that like a fool, but that's besides the point. As we now go down the hill, still only holding forwards, nothing else. Coming down here onto the section with the whale. Now, again, still holding forwards as we now get onto this section. I'm pretty sure this section is entirely automatic, so, you know, we'll just be following through this anyway. And still going, and we're here. Waiting for that to go past, and off we continue on our way. Still only holding forwards. I haven't jumped. I haven't even spin dashed yet. I've still literally just held forwards. Now here we had a bit of an issue getting around this corner, but I still only held forwards, and he still made it round. We are boosting to win right now is what's happening, and he manages to make it round these corners just fine. Now coming on to this section actually, which I didn't expect I would make it to, because I honestly thought Sonic Adventure would be over quite quickly, as I imagine most people would, because this game is, as I said, often praised for its level design and being able to actually require player inputs and have the player think about things to get around their environment. Anyway, still going forward, still heading forwards. We didn't make it through there actually, so it looks like we are going to the lower path as we now go in here, and we fall into the water, but we're still going. As long as he's still moving, the timer is still ticking along exactly the same as it was for every other game. Now we're coming along, we are still boosting and we are still winning, but our time comes to an end right here when we hit that wall at a whopping 2 minutes and 18 seconds, which is huge. Sonic Adventure 2 is up next again. Similarly to SA1, this game is praised by its fans for being so good at having player input, and the same is actually true. I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 fans are the ones which honestly I see using Boost to win the most. So we'll see if they're talking out of their arse. Already, it's been longer than Forces, so, you know, we've been boosting to win longer than we have in the game, which you say boost to win the most, so, you know, ha! So, but we are still continuing on our way. He bounces off that wall and comes to an end here. However, I'm still holding forwards, but he turns around. I was literally only holding forwards then. And where did that momentum come from? By the way, we were stopped dead, I held forwards, and where did that momentum come from for that movement? I don't know. Anyway, we continue on forwards now, but we can no longer make it, coming to 48 seconds and 55 milliseconds. Finally is Sonic 06. Now, it wasn't actually me that recorded the footage to this, so if there's any issues with it, shout at the person that did that. Anyway, again, following the exact same rules, can only move in the forward direction. Here we are, moving, as you can tell, in the forward direction. Using the spin dash as the boost step in, because again, you're holding a button, it's an instant burst of speed. Kind of stuck on this wall, but he is still moving forward, so we are still counting it as we almost fall off the edge. But he's still going, God bless him, Sonic. He's still trying, and we have fallen into the water. However, that is not the end, because resetting at the checkpoint actually corrected his position, meaning you can continue onwards, and the game lets you go forward even further. However, our time stops when we reach this and spin for all of eternity. Now, the time at death was 49.79. Add that on to the time where we were going around here. That's 1 minute and 16 seconds in total for Sonic 06. Now, that brings us to an average of 47.74 seconds for the games which are so-called not boost to win, which is almost twice as long as the games which supposedly are boost to win. Therefore, I have scientifically proven that in the non-boost games you can boost to win for a greater amount of time than the boost games, and therefore if anyone uses the term boost to win in a video or a review or an essay or whatever, Sega, you know, you can legally sue them for slander and or libel. I'd just like a bit of that money you get from it. Thank you, and goodbye.